Hello everybody, just want to stop in real quick for a history lesson today about how over 2,000 years ago Jesus of Nazareth came teaching a new religion, and now he's got millions and millions of followers all over the world who worship this religion. And in a lot of cases, that's exactly what it is. It's more a relationship with the divine law of karma than anything else. And no matter how you package it, it's mostly a religion based on transaction. And if you do good things to this divine law, then you transactionally get good in return. But God forbid if you do bad to this divine law, because you transactionally will get bad things in return. And so that's really what the Christian religion has become. But if we define religion as something that you must do in order to get right with God, something that you must do in order to get closer to God or to get on God's good side, then Jesus did not come teaching a new religion. Jesus came declaring and proclaiming the end of religion. And he has closed the distance that there ever was between God and man, which was really just in our own minds. And so we have often treated Jesus as the bridge that we need to cross in order to climb up into God. But the revelation of the incarnation is that Jesus is the bridge that God crossed to get closer to us. And so that now we are in union with God. Jesus in his very person has closed all distance. He is union between God and man in his very person. Salvation is not something that he just doles out to the worthy. His very person is salvation. He is the divine union between God and man, and he holds it together in his incarnate being. And so, this is the reality of the gospel, and we can see how Jesus views transaction in a couple instances of the gospel, starting with when he cleanses the temple. And we've read this story like Jesus walks into the temple and flips over the tables of the money changers and whips out all the animals because he can't control his temper. But really, Jesus is acting out a parable. In this case, he's not actually verbally teaching a parable, he's acting one out. And he's basically cleansing the temple of transaction. In the temple, they used to have, you would have to buy their animals because your animals weren't good enough, and you couldn't even spend your own money on their animals because your money wasn't good enough, and you had to bring it to the table of the money changers and get a new currency, and all of this transaction and sacrifice that you had to do in the temple in order to get right with God. And so Jesus comes violently cleansing the temple, and they say, by what authority do you do this? And he says, destroy this temple, this human temple, in 3 days I will raise it back up again. And so we see Jesus acting out this parable and how he views transaction, saying, no, this is grace. Destroy this temple, all of this transaction and sacrifice and all these things that you need to do in order to get right with God. I'm bringing an end to that. And I'm going to consummate a union between God and man by destroying this temple and raising it up anew. And we also see this in the parable of the prodigal son. He starts rehearsing about what he's going to say to his father when he decides to return home, and how he can't go back as a son because he's not worthy. So he's going to become a hired servant in the house. And so he starts rehearsing that he's going to go back to his father's house on the basis of servanthood. And when his father sees him afar off, he runs over to him and he embraces him. And his son starts carrying out his rehearsed speech, and his father doesn't even let him get to the part of servanthood. And he says, get the fatted calf, put a robe on him, put a ring on him, it's party time. And so, that's the way that God views transaction. This is a belief system of grace. It's not a religion at all. And it gives us a place to start from. We start at the finish line, and it gives us a place of liberty to just live from. And we start just being good for nothing. We become good for nothing, and we just become good because that's who we are. And it's not any obligation. We just act in accordance with who we're in union with and in freedom. So my encouragement to you is to just relax in your salvation with God and with Jesus and with the Holy Spirit, and to just simply relax in it, because God has paid your temple tax. He's paid the tax for both you and him, and told you to just go have fun and go fishing. God bless.